The other program that we provide is the Social Butterflies program, and the name is kind of connotates to exactly what it is. It's to develop our children, our babies and toddlers, into little social butterflies. What we found, and again, this goes back to our roots in responding to the needs of the children and families, a lot of our families found that as we worked with their children, their toddlers and babies really were only responding to adults in the home, because the only folks that they were around is their parents or the adult therapists that were coming into the home. So unless they had the benefit of siblings, they were less able to play with other toddlers. And it really became a problem for our families because some of them felt very isolated. They didn't feel comfortable taking their child out, or some of them were newer parents and just didn't feel comfortable with taking their child out. So we developed this Social Butterflies program to encourage our families to have a structured playtime with their kids. It's structured, but not so structured that the kids don't feel like they have some time to just explore on their own and get to know some other kids their age. They do a craft, they have a snack time, and then it's really starting to build toward those skills that children are going to need to know if they would go to preschool. And what we found is the families love it so much they all want to stick around. It's become almost a mini support group for these families. And it's also just an exceptional program because it is staffed by a developmental therapist. So the children are all getting reinforced those fine and gross motor skills. It is an inclusive setting. The toddlers in the program, some of them have special needs and are delayed, and some are not. And if you would come and observe the group, you would not be able to tell which kids have special needs. And ultimately, that is TELI's goal, for our kids to all move on and enter school with minimal or no supports. And we have outstanding outcomes in that regard. Over 70% of our kids enter kindergarten with minimal or no supports. And that is just outstanding, because I think that's everybody's goal, is to help really children be successful in school. And our tagline under our logo says it all. We do believe in the possibility of every child. And just going back to our roots to 1958, as those parents said, you know what, we can do better for our kids than put them in an institution. We believe every kid can learn. Some just need some additional supports to get there. And that's exactly what TELI does.
We're going to talk to Sheila here in just a second about her personal experiences. But what you've seen, Kara, how else does this help these children? I mean, being able to go into kindergarten and not being able to, all of those things are so wonderful for a child. What else have you seen over the years and how TELI benefits kids?
When you see the children come in, and I was just talking to one of our teachers yesterday, and she said they had a child come into the center, and all he did for the first 6 months of school was suck his thumb. And now this kid is going to be, if he's not valedictorian, I will be shocked. He comes over when you enter the classroom to observe, or if you bring a tour group through, he comes over, hello, how are you? He's the host of the classroom, comes over and shakes your hand. He's just a little diplomat. And when you think in such a short amount of time how he has progressed, not only academically with knowing everything he needs to know and being well beyond being ready for kindergarten, well beyond his years, I would probably even guess to say, this young man has the social skills. He's going to be able to be successful in school. But even more importantly, I think, is it's hard today to be different. People are judgmental. If you don't look like them, if you don't talk like them, it's really hard. And when you have a child with special needs and there's something different about them, that's really heart-wrenching for a family to know my child's going to have to deal with this the rest of their life and find a way to be different beyond just having a special need and to succeed. And what I see TELI doing for our children and families is they aren't defined by their disability. When I go into a classroom and I see our children in with their typical peers, and you can't tell the difference, and in fact, it's our kids teaching their typical peers, hey, this is what you need to be doing, because they have turned around and become the role models. That, to me, is the greatest gift we can give any child.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about the Early Learning Institute and all of its services. My guest this half hour, Rutowski, Executive Director of TELI, Kerry Cannon, who received early intervention services through TELI, and her mom, Sheila, who is the coordinator of the Down Syndrome Center of Western Pennsylvania of Children's Hospital. And Sheila, we want to hear all about your story now. Tell us how you came to know about TELI.
Thank you, Shelley. Kerry was born in 1986, and at that time, the early intervention was just maybe thought about. It really wasn't. It wasn't even an entitled service, so that you had to really wait and make sure that there was a slot open. It was very different at that time. And I remember calling around, and everyone would say, for Kerry, there aren't any services available, and that yet they were saying that it was the most common diagnosis for children with developmental delay. Kerry has Down syndrome. So, it really took a lot of calls, and finally, this summer, a couple months after she was born, we hooked up with St. Peter's Child Development Center, which is now called TELI, and so she finally started early intervention services around 5.5 months of age, and it was really the hope that our family had for her. Kerry also at that time received a diagnosis of severe hearing impairment, so. That we felt that was like a double whammy for her. So having these services really is what our family needed to help her be the best she could be. So we had a developmental specialist pretty much the whole time until at that time, well, let me backtrack. TELI offered preschool services when she was 2. And so for like a year and a half or so, she had a developmental specialist, and they worked with her, especially with the hearing, and helping her to use the hearing that she had to the best. So that has really helped her, because by the time she left the program when she was 5, she had great conversation, great communication skills, which is unusual for a child who is hearing impaired. So, I attribute a lot of that to the wonderful staff there. They've really worked hard. They taught us so much. You can have an hour of therapy a week, but if you don't carry it out the rest of the week, it's not going to be as beneficial. So, that was really the premise, I believe, for TELI, was that, we're showing you what to do and how to help your child. And that really made a lot of sense to me. I was an educator before Kerry was born, but it really inspired me to go back and get my master's degree in early intervention.